that's starting up making buggy wheels. I've been hauling buggy wheels with me. Every time I go to Ohio, I bring back a load. I got buggy wheels stacked up on the back of my truck. I got them in the trailer, the buggy wheels everywhere. And now I'm picking up all the tools for making a buggy wheel and dropping them off to a guy down toward Millville. So it'll hopefully solve that issue. But everybody needs to learn a skill, and they do, and it really kind of benefits the community. And nobody duplicates it. If somebody's already doing something, they find something else. So that's pretty much the way it works out. The girls, they have incredible homemaking skills. You know, they can take care of the cattle and the chickens and cook an incredible meal, make all kinds of clothing, do all kinds of things that are focused on the home and on raising children, and that's it. That's their world. The decisions are all made by Dad in every household, and you want to go talk to the big guy. You can talk to Mom, but she's going to say we really need to talk to him. Any questions about education part of it? I'm just skipping.
You said the New York State requirements, it was the days or the hours and all that. What about the coursework?
The curriculum? No. They have to meet, I guess, homeschooling requirements. Okay. There's certain tests they have to take at the end of the year. They order, the community will order the books and the curriculum that the teacher will follow.
And what about beyond 8th grade? It's not required?
Nothing.
By New York State, is it required?
Well, I'm not sure how that works. I just know for them, those guys that are 12 can't wait till they're 14. Yes?
Are they taught science, and how do they feel about vaccinations?
They're not taught science. They got an 8th grade teacher, and they are not taught any history. They're not taught many of the subjects that are common in the normal school. As a matter of fact, there was a whole group of teenagers around once, and I made a comment, something about, well, gee, that's like something Hitler would do. And they all looked at me like, who's Hitler? And I thought, wow, you know, it just shocked me.
But would that fit in with their culture? Because the more knowledge you have, the more you may want to develop your life differently. So
Probably.
Let's focus on
Today. The question was, is that intentional, basically, so that they don't get too broad in education and start looking elsewhere for more answers and more information? And that's pretty true. Yeah, they're pretty basic in that area.
Now, do they vote and do they pay taxes?
We'll get to that, but they do not vote. They do not vote. But I think that would even be...
Could they vote?
Oh, sure. They certainly could. Well, I guess we'll hit a little dating first, but we'll get right to that. That's coming right up. Yes?
So I'd like to ask a question about their attire. Is there a certain age where a young man would or would not wear a hat?
They always wear a
They
hat.
always wear a hat. I had gone to it was like a show, an event in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and there were a lot of young, I don't know if they're Amish or Mennonite, but I quite often would see a young Mennonite girl in the full garb, and the young man in what I call English clothes. So that kind of confused me. Did you ever experience that yourself?
Yes. And
What does that mean?
He would be Mennonite.
He would be Mennonite and she would be Amish.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't mix it up too much.
Right.
But they do mix it up.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I've not seen the boys, out and about. I see them at an auction or something. The Schwartz and True Amish, the lower orders, they will wear a vest if it's 90. They will not be out there without their hat and their
And
vest.
there were a lot of Amish at that show
Yeah.
showing the horses, beautiful horses.
Sure.
Yeah,
They love their horses.
yes, they do.
Yeah. Yes.
What do they do about doctors, medical problems?
That's a big one. And they have their own, healthcare people. They call them like a midwife, or a nurse practitioner type thing, but they're mostly homeschooled and home remedies.
They don't believe in hospitals or?
Oh, they do,
Do they?
but hospitals are very expensive. And if, as soon as they find out you have no insurance, they don't really want you in some of the hospitals. And I've worked with a few different hospitals with some of the families. They have some terrible bills to deal with. I mean, if a car hits a buggy, you go into the hospital in an ambulance, and you're there for maybe a week because you got broken legs and bones and you're bleeding internally and all that. Well, you know how that can go crazy. And 20, 30,000 in a week is nothing. And they have to pay that. So that's where the community helps. And the Amish community really helps each other that way. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get through that. But some of their views on healthcare are they're just a little different. They'll do what they can before they ever go see a doctor. Unfortunately, by the time they see a doctor, sometimes it's almost too late, you know, or things have progressed, so now it's a real big problem. That's been what I've seen with some of the families around our area.
Do they believe in COVID vaccination?
Most do not. The ones I know
What was
don't.
the question?
The question was, do they get vaccinations, basically? Most do not, that I've seen. I'm not saying they all don't, but I don't know of any right in our area that have been vaccinated. And they're, so far, they've been very healthy. I don't know any of them that have gotten COVID. Of course, they're kind of a closed community. If they get it, I'm afraid it's going to go right through them all because of the church and the way they get together and the social gatherings. But they've been very fortunate so far. Unfortunately, they tend to get, my experience is they tend to get a lot of medical and other information from people that they just happen to run into. Maybe the logger that dropped off the logs for their sawmill or whatever. And they'll believe it. And some of the things they're told, I just go, wow, about coronavirus and other things. I'm always having a discussion like that with them. Yes?
What is their policy on wearing a mask?
They will wear a mask if they have to. Yeah, if they were going to come in the room here, they would put a mask on. If they're going to get on an Amtrak train to go to Cleveland, they would wear a mask. But they'd take it off as soon as they possibly could. Yeah. Yes?
New York State does not have the right to require them to take regents.
They don't care about regions.
They're not required
No.
to by the state.
No, not at all. No, they have no interest in the regents exam.
What are some reasons that they're shunned?
When they do something in the community that would not be accepted by the community. It could be, say a young lady dates an English guy. And English is anybody that's not Amish. Say she goes out with him. She would be shunned.
Say that again? Young lady what?
If she were to date an English, go out for a picnic or go to a county fair or go to a movie or something, they don't do that. They wouldn't do any of those things. And if she did that, she would be shunned by the community.
She can do that? I mean,
No,
well, then if
she
she's
cannot
shunned
do.
for doing it, how would she do it?
Pardon?
Looking at us.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Could I answer that better for you? I'm not sure. No. That anything that they do, like cell phones, that's a big one with the kids. The little Walkmans with the music. The fathers are always finding them that the kids are stashing somewhere and they'll smash them and kids are all upset for a while and they could get shunned for that for a couple of weeks by the community.
The one that killed his horse very publicly, was he shunned or was that something even worse than happened to him? I mean, I know what happened legally and all
Yeah.
that, but within the community it happened.
Well, that certainly was a terrible experience and a terrible thing. I happened to know the guy.
Oh,
I had been at a barn raising, worked with him, knew him. I was as shocked or more shocked than anybody in the room when you saw that on the news. Not at all what I would ever picture this guy doing. However, one thing that I find with a lot of the Amish community is they experience a lot of stress. The father is running everything. He's responsible for 13, 15 mouths to feed, to clothe, shoes, all that stuff. When the price of milk dropped, like it did back then, they were stressing right out. I know I went over and talked to my neighbor and I said, listen, if you need to talk to somebody, I don't know how you're getting through this. Because his milk check was not enough to even pay for his feed bill for the month. For the cows, not to say nothing about the kids. So, I think they experience an awful lot of stress. They're very alone, they're very isolated, and they're not going to tell their neighbors they're having all these problems. They're too private and proud. They won't do that. So they keep a lot of it in, and I think that was the case where he just imploded. And I mean, obviously he had an issue with that horse because he had a baseball bat with him.
Yeah.
You know, so he had some thoughts about what he might do to deal with this horse. Had to be a tough horse. Absolutely no reason for that ever to happen. The Amish that I mostly know, I've talked to a number of them. I've said, gee, would you ever use a whip on a horse? They said, whip? Our dad won't even let us have a whip on the farm. There's no whip. If you can't handle a horse, you better learn how to handle a horse before you go pick up a whip. So I don't see that. They love their horses. They need their horses. They value their horses. They're everything. You know, they're everything. They couldn't get along without their horses. And horses are very expensive. But at any rate, if we can move on to, yes.
Just about vaccinations, does that include rubella, polio, and measles, and tetanus?
I don't know. I really don't know that. I'm almost guessing they'd have to be in our community and out there without, you know, big issues. I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that.
They don't go to public schools, so where it would be required.
Right, that's right. So, yeah. She just said that they don't go to public schools where it would be required for them to start. It's not required in their schools, so I don't know. I just don't know that. That's a good question.
Well, especially tetanus, because of the work they do.
Yeah. People always asking, are their marriages arranged? Always. They are not. They choose their partners. They do it very discreetly. It's amazing. You'll see a young guy and 3 weeks later he's got a wife. And it's like, whoa, how did that happen? You know, and they've been seeing each other kind of on the sly for a while. And that's just kind of the way it goes. But they make all their decisions. You rarely see a divorce in an Amish family. I just know one.
So how long do they typically court?
Couldn't tell you.
How old are they?
Well, you know, their courtship is different than our courtship. Their courtship might be just meeting at a barn raising, you know, and going to an auction, or, you know, spend a little bit of time, maybe meet at a wedding. And they do travel incredibly, and they meet people, they really try and meet people from other areas, so they're not all inbred and marrying their cousin. So they really go to these events, the weddings, the barn raisings, the singings. They happen all the time, and they're full of young people that get together and they want to meet people, and you know, just like anybody else, you know. And then they'll write back and forth and carry on maybe a relationship for like a year, and then get married. But the singings, I wasn't really familiar with the singings part of it, but they'll frequently have a singing on a Friday night. There's nothing going on. They'll just kind of all get together at somebody's barn and they'll all just sing. And it'd be, you know, 15, 20 teenagers. And they sing carols and different things from church and favorite songs. I'm sure they want to sing some of the things off the radio that some of them have heard, but they sing. And it's not just the young ones. I've been to singing where the adults are singing. I got to tell you, you have never heard anything like a bunch of Amish men singing in a room. It is beautiful. It's amazing because the sound and all the different levels, it's just a thing of beauty, really. That always happens at every wedding. At the weddings, well, that's probably next.
Sounds about the bed in the lower right.
Yeah, we're going to ask about that.
Can you see the bed?
Yeah. What do you think that might deal with?
We've got enough children, no more.
No, this is before the marriage. And they know that they're courting. The parents will know that this young man is going to come and marry their daughter. Well, they'll allow them, like the week or so before, to come and sleep in the bed. And they will enter the room at any point in time that they choose, the parents, that is. So you better be on your side of the bed, the board. But yeah, they do that. I was surprised, but I said, they really do that? They go, yeah. The barn raisings are a big time for everybody to get together. I mean, it's just such a community gathering and an amazing thing. They're, well, the picnics, they have picnics on those visiting Sundays, and sometimes after church, they have a big day. I mean, church is not just church. We go to church and we walk out an hour later, we're done. They go to church at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and church ends around noon. Then the whole group will all sit down together and eat a big meal. And then after church, then that's when the singing will happen. You know, the men will just stay there in the room, the women will go up and do the dishes, and the men will just stay there and just start singing. They'll pass around some hymnal books and things, and it's beautiful. And then later, they'll the kids will go outside and, you know, check out the horses and all the other stuff the kids do and play tag and different things. So they got all kinds of things going on. But the young ones are always looking for a mate. That's something that they're actively aware of and looking for. Oh, let me move on. So marriage. Here we go. It's almost always on a Thursday. We're going to be coming into the hardcore marriage season here very shortly. They wait typically until the fall, until after the chores and the crops are in, and then look out. There'll be weddings going boom, 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 boom. And they'll throw in a barn raising somewhere, and it'll be followed by 3 weddings because everybody came together for the barn raising, and they just stay and have the weddings. So it's kind of a real festive time in the fall. Typically, I'd say from October into early December, when it's easier to travel and they can afford to be away and they've got their work done basically for the summer. And it is an all-day event. I've been to several. They'll start at 7:30 in the morning. It's all in the Pennsylvania Dutch. I don't have an idea what they're saying, but the bishop goes on for hours. And all the expectations of a bride, all the expectations for a groom, what they expect of them in the community, how they expect them to deal with their families, with their friends, their neighbors. Everything is laid out, and it's very clear, and they become a part of that community. Now, the wedding dress, the bride makes her own dress. She'll probably wear that dress every day for as long as she can to church. It'll only be worn to church. And she'll wear that for the next few years until it's worn out, and then she'll make another one. But the wedding dress is really very plain, very simple, but very nice. And the honeymoon is a little bit different. As you see in the picture, you got the ladies on the right and the men on the left. And that is exactly the way it is at the weddings. And the kids are all there. I mean, little guys, they don't make a peep. They'll sit on somebody's lap, the dad's lap, the mom's lap, one of the brothers or sisters' laps, Kids all over the place. You don't even hear a sound. They're really remarkable. They're the most well-behaved children I've ever seen in my life. The honeymoon, basically, you call it a honeymoon, is the woman, the bride, her family will send out all the invitations. They'll invite the groom's immediate family, brothers, sisters, people close to him, a few aunts and uncles, maybe grandparents. That's about it. Everything else is the bride's side. It's a big bride party. And after the party, after the wedding, they will go around for a moon, 1 month, and the bride and the groom will visit most of the people who came to their wedding. And they might be in Michigan, they might be in Indiana, they might be in Ohio, they might be in Pennsylvania, but they will travel around. That's kind of their honeymoon. And they travel around to their homes and visit all the people that took time out of their life to come see them. They go back to see them. Kind of a neat tradition, yes.
Do they get gifts?
Yes. The gifts all happen, they're very practical gifts. Things they're going to need, things they're going to use, things that are going to work for them in the kitchen, for the woman, or in the barn for the husband. And they'll all be given to them after the wedding, after the lunch, the big meal. I mean, it's a feast. After the singing, and the dishes are all cleaned up and everything, and then people go out and hang out outside for a while. Then I'd say about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the bride and the groom will go upstairs to a bedroom in the house and will receive people, a family at a time, coming to see them individually, and they give them their gift at that point. It's really a very neat kind of a tradition, and that's the way it is at every one that I've been to.
How do the Amish, if there's Amish coming from Michigan to a wedding here in New York?
How do they come in?
Yeah.
Amtrak. Amtrak. Yeah.
So if they're on Amtrak, can't they be exposed to COVID?
Sure could be. They got their mask on.
I don't understand why nobody's gotten it.
I'm amazed. They're pretty tough critters. I mean, they've got all kinds of immunity. You ever see those little guys? They're out there in the garden, they're out there with the chickens, they're out there with everybody, bare feet and everything, from the time they can move. And they can't wait to get out there and get into it. And they're shoveling the manure in the barn and bare feet, and it's all happening. And they have incredible immune systems. Yes.
Who performs the ceremony?
The bishop.
Okay, and is there actually a paper that, like we get marriage licenses and
Yes.
so forth? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it has to be registered,
Yeah.
with the county clerk or whatever. Yep. They have to do the same things. Yeah.
I've heard that the young men, if they make any money before they're married, they have to give it to their parents. And then after they're married, they can use it themselves. Is that?
Kind of true. Yes, it is true. All the kids, doesn't matter men or women, they can work outside the home and bring back money. It all goes to their father until their 21st birthday. Once they're 21, it's theirs. There's several young ladies that I know that have gone out and worked a lot, and they brought home a lot of money for their dad. They turned 21, and they wanted to get married, but they said, you know what, let me wait like a couple years. The ones that do that, they're the smart ones. They'll go out and continue working, stockpile all that money, and then go buy the most beautiful furniture. I know because I pick it up when I go out to Ohio, and I pick it up at different places where they make tables and chairs and different desks and dressers and bureaus. Just beautiful handmade stuff. And their homes are incredible. They're simple and they're plain, but they're beautiful. Yeah, and then others though jump right in and get married young and don't have anything extra, and they're going to scramble for a while because the kids start coming, and those are the #1 priority. Right? Okay. Yes,
Do the babies get baptized at all, or are they into
when they're adults.
when they're adult?
Yes. When they're adults. Did I miss? Okay, went by taxes here, yes. That was a good question about taxes. I wanted to make sure we got to it. Every American pays federal, state, county, and school taxes, and they do too. Every single, they don't take advantage of them because they're not involved with Social Security. They don't ever receive it. They don't get unemployment. They don't get military service. They do not participate in military service. They get a religious exemption. And they don't participate in social services. They'll never be on food stamps. They never, when they're older, they're not going in a nursing home unless they pay for it, but they'll never go in a nursing home. They'll be at home and cared for by the family and the community. But they pay all those school taxes, never use it. Some communities I've heard will bus some kids from here to there. If you can think about this, suppose you got 8, 7, 6, 4-year-old, they got to go to school and they're going to take the bus, or they're going to take the buggy and the horse, and they're going to go 6 miles to that school. And they do that every day. Snowing, blowing, 20 below zero, doesn't matter. They go. And you can see that it can be a little scary sometimes for those kids. They have a lot of responsibility. The oldest one is in charge. When they go out, they leave the home, the oldest one is the only one that will talk when anybody else addresses them in English or something. But things happen, and the kids, they make all the decisions, and they're on their own, basically, from the time they leave to the time they return. And kids are kids, so sometimes they get in a little trouble. But
Do they go to school in the summer?
no. They're done in beginning of May, and they start back in about the middle of August.
See, don't they have their own schools?
Their own schools.
And so, why do they have to pay school taxes?
Yeah.
If they're not paying property taxes?
They do pay property taxes.
You say so?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they pay for their own schools. They do their own fundraisers and things in the community. Now, for instance, you've heard of Amish charity auctions and things maybe? Or Amish auctions, monthly auction or quarterly auction or something. If this is our community right here, and you make tables, at that auction, you're gonna make a really nice table and have it for the sale. And all the money goes to the church, goes to the school, goes to health care that people might need, have some big bills. And if you make chairs, you're going to donate 6 chairs for that. If you make bridles and halters, you're going to donate a beautiful harness. Everybody kicks in something in the community, and they all benefit in the long run through the sale of that information, that stuff. Mostly controlled by the bishop and the elders, deciding who is the most needy in the community and where it needs to go. Any questions? Good questions.
How do you know how much money they made? I mean, it's not like you're working for somebody and get a tax form back. I mean, how do they know how much federal and state taxes?
Well, they have to keep track of stuff as well. I mean, they buy things and sell things,
Yeah.
whether it's horses or cows or sheep. They have to account for where it goes. So yeah, there's accountability. How do the farmers do it? Regular farmers.
Yeah, that's true too.
And people that run lumber mills. An awful lot of them are getting into the lumber business. Lumber's through the roof, so there's sawmills going up everywhere. And you can buy a board at Lowe's for $15, or you can buy it from the Amish for $7. And it's going to be the same board, probably better from the Amish. It'll be 2 full inches and 6 inches wide instead of a fraction of that. Yes?
Just to clarify, did you say that they pay public school taxes?
Yes. They
But
pay
they
all.
don't use the public
They
school
don't
at
use the
all, but
public
they
school.
pay public school
They have to
taxes.
pay all the taxes. All the taxes that you and I pay, they have to pay. They just don't participate. So then they also pay for their own school and the teacher and the books and all that other kind of stuff. Yeah. Any question about that?
Did they pay and use public water?
Very few of them are on public water systems. They're in the country mostly. If they lived in a town, but I don't know of any that live in town, to tell you the truth. Do you know any of them? Anybody know any Amish that live in town? I've never heard of that.
I'm wondering if Middleville, any sections of Middleville, New York, have
Yeah.
water.
I don't think so. I know most of the people over there, and I don't think anybody. The community ties, again, we just kind of talked about that. The house and barn raising. This the picture on the right side is from Pennsylvania. You can tell by looking at the shirts and the guys and their hats and all that. People on the left, this is actually when I was at. This is over toward Holland Patton, where this one took place. And those are all our community, the Schwarzenegger Amish group. And it's remarkable, I gotta say, to see a barn raising. If you've never been to one, go to one. It's amazing. They're usually also on a Thursday. But you show up on that day, and I've been to, the smallest one was probably 70 men. The largest one was maybe 110 or 120 men. But what work they can do with that many people in one day. You show up and there's a foundation, and it looks like a mess. It looks like a bomb. There's just boards and everything laying everywhere, tools, everything's laid out on the ground. But as the day goes on, anytime you need something, you just look at your feet. It'll be there. If you're going to be putting a post into a hole, there'll be a hammer, a sledgehammer, laying right there next to where you're going to need it. If you're going to put a brace in, there'll be a crowbar right there where you're going to need it. It will have been put there the day before. It's remarkable how well planned these things are. And boom, 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 they go up. I'm going to guess that that picture on the left was probably taken about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. You cannot get over how much work they do first thing. They fly. It's probably 11 o'clock. It's going to be a little bit before lunch because they're going to be ready to put the steel on. It's incredible. And I've been to 6 barn raisings so far, full days, starting at 7 in the morning, and we've been done usually 4 to 6 in the evening. And I say done, I mean the windows are all in, the doors are all working, everything is completed. You're ready to move hay in the barn. It's awesome.
David, does each man come with a specific skill and a specific job so that when they get there, they know what they're doing? Who's doing what?
Yeah, not really.
Oh.
As kids, they do everything. And I mean, little kids are involved as well. And they learn skills throughout their years. I know the first one I was at, I talked to like a 12-year-old. I go, have you ever done this before? He says, well, this is the 10th one I've been on.
Who are you? Yeah.
Really? And